Once upon a time there was a boy named Arjun. He was an ordinary student with extraordinary dreams. He wanted to achieve greatness. He wanted to make his parents proud. He wanted to escape the cycle of mediocrity that trapped his family for generations. But there was a problem. Arjun was inconsistent. He studied only when exams came close. He worked only when he felt motivated. He believed that inspiration alone could carry him to success. Every morning he made big plans. Every night he slept with regret. His books lay open on the desk. But his phone stole his hours. His dreams whispered inside him. But laziness shouted louder. One day his teacher told him something that stung. Arjun, talent is nothing without discipline. He smiled on the outside but burned on the inside. He thought motivation was enough. He thought success was about sudden bursts of energy. But deep down he knew she was right. Arjun dreamed of getting into the best university. He wanted to prove to himself that he was capable. He wanted to silence the voices of doubt around him. But he lacked the one thing that separates dreamers from doers: consistency. One evening he sat alone in his room. The walls around him were covered with posters of achievers. Scientists, leaders, athletes, writers. All of them had one thing in common. They showed up every day. They practiced when no one was watching. They repeated small steps until they became giants. Arjun asked himself, why am I failing again and again? Why do I always start strong but end weak? The answer came quietly. Because he depended on motivation. And motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. That night he made a decision. A small but powerful decision. He would no longer wait for motivation. He would build a system of discipline. He would show up every day. No matter what. The next morning he woke up at 5 a.m. Sleepy eyes, heavy body, lazy mind. Everything inside him screamed to stay in bed. But he remembered his promise. He got up. He opened his book. He studied for 1 hour. That was the beginning. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was consistent. Day after day, he showed up. Sometimes he studied with energy. Sometimes he studied with exhaustion. Sometimes his notes looked neat. Sometimes they looked messy. But the effort never stopped. His friends laughed at him. They said, why are you wasting mornings? They said, you can't change in a few months. They said, relax, you'll burn out. But Arjun ignored the noise. Because he knew discipline is louder than doubt. Weeks turned into months. Slowly his habits transformed. He no longer needed alarm clocks. His body woke him up. He no longer needed reminders. His mind guided him. Consistency became his identity. One evening his father came into his room. He saw Arjun studying in silence. For the first time he didn't have to be told. For the first time he didn't look distracted. His father placed his hand on his shoulder. You've grown, son, he whispered. And that was all the encouragement Arjun needed. His marks began to rise. Not overnight, but step by step, chapter by chapter, page by page. Arjun realized something powerful. Success is not one big step. Success is 1,000 small steps repeated daily. Discipline is the bridge, and consistency is the engine. Soon his teachers noticed. They said, Arjun, you're improving fast. His friends noticed. They said, Arjun, how do you stay so focused? Arjun smiled. Because he knew the secret. Consistency had become his superpower. The university entrance exams were approaching. The toughest challenge of his life. Fear tried to creep in. But discipline stood stronger. He had prepared daily. He had built his foundation brick by brick. He wasn't relying on luck. He was relying on consistency. The exam day arrived. Arjun walked into the hall with calmness. Not because it was easy, but because he was ready. He wrote with confidence. He solved with clarity. He gave his best. Weeks later, the results came. Arjun's heart pounded as he checked his score. And then his eyes widened. He had made it. He had secured admission into one of the top universities. Tears filled his mother's eyes. His father hugged him tightly. His teacher smiled proudly. But Arjun knew the truth. This wasn't about talent. This wasn't about luck. This was about consistency. Years later, when Arjun stood on a stage as a successful professional, he told his story to students just like him. He said, "Motivation will start you, but discipline will finish you. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the fire. Without daily discipline, motivation is useless. And without consistency, dreams remain trapped inside you." He looked into the eyes of the young dreamers and left them with one final line: "The future belongs to those who show up every single day."